CJ. Yeah, what we talking about? 94 feet, crossover bodies dropping J's up. Players, this elite, your shots on body blocking halftime. We break it down, we gon' call your bluff, it's past time. You recognize, we got the heat down in Florida with the keys. Yes, we the best, magic, we flash with them fans, listen, won't see the best. Show rise from the airwaves like all stars in them stairways. Local rockin', we not stopping, got hot topics like every day. Them trades hit that deadline, my team chasing the big rings. We ball, check that headline. Don't mess it up when you pick teams. The only station giving y'all that info with that real talk. Don't be trying to contest it. Go toe to toe and get wheeled off. We shooting from deeper than that report from the bleachers. If you ain't on your game, then we got something to teach you. Tie your laces up, might get shook up out of them sneakers. That triple threat, bless your eardrum straight out of your speakers. Go from that black top to the hardwood. Locker room to that press day. Got the scoop on them contracts, new prospects and best plays. NBA defined by the grind, in between the lines, full court pressing, finessing, reading signs. What we talking about? 94 feet, crossover bodies dropping J's up. Players, this elite, your shots on body blocking halftime. We break it down.
What's up, everybody? This is Thompson from AroundTheAssociation.com, and this is the Around the Association, the podcast, the weekend edition of the podcast. We are getting into Game 3s and Game 4s this weekend all over the NBA playoffs. Normally, an article would normally come out about the recap, going over games on Friday and Saturday. So what we kind of do something a little different this weekend. With the weekend being the weekend, we decided to do a podcast because it's a little bit more feasible to get stuff done on a podcast, and also talk about the topics a little bit more of an in-depth type of process. So follow me on Twitter at Danny, DANNY, the number 3, Thompson on Twitter. Also follow the Facebook page, which is Around the Association, the podcast, actually the radio on Facebook. Also follow the website, AroundTheAssociation.com, for the latest all NBA news. I just released a mock draft within the last couple of days, so I would definitely get it out to everybody. It's been kind of a hectic week, so with getting the NBA playoffs, getting prepared for Game 4 tomorrow night in Orlando, I will definitely get into that as well too. The mock draft is really my first round preview before we get into the lottery on the 14th, and then the subsequent NBA Combine right after that. So we're not talking about draft right now. That's a completely another topic for another day. So let's get into the NBA playoffs, because that's what everybody is talking about now. So Game 3s and Game 4s happen over the weekend, starting Friday night. The first game, of course, is the game down here in Orlando. The Toronto Raptors and the Orlando Magic played a very, very good and tight game throughout. The Raptors got off to a big lead early in the game, and even with Kawhi Leonard not playing his best game, Pascal Siakam completely just stepped up the entire game, and he put the first 30 and 10 games since Chris Bosh had one a few years ago when he was a Raptor. Seemed like a few years ago, but it's been a long time since he's been a Raptor. But this game, it's more than just a score. There was just some underlying things that are actually positive for Orlando and things that are be concerned with, and there's concern on both sides. Number one, you have to give the Magic credit for not giving up in this game. And you have to give Steve Clifford credit for sticking with Evan Fournier, the guy that he's been riding with all season, the team's best shot creator on the team when his shot wasn't falling. Now, was it the best decision? To me, it wasn't the best decision to keep him on the floor late in the game, especially with Siakam just doing what he was having his way with with Aaron Gordon, with Fournier, with Ross, with Vucevic. Anybody that threw on him in the late part of the fourth quarter, Siakam had their way. And the one guy that was playing the best defense on him was Jonathan Isaac. I think when he was guarding, he was 4 for 9, 4 for 10 when Isaac was guarding Siakam throughout the game. And he's done a very solid job on Siakam, who's just so good in this entire series. Now, I know that Magic fans are not really happy with the way how it played out with Clifford's rotation, with Fournier going with the guy that's struggling. But just remember, kind of the same thing Mike Malone has done with Will Barton out in Denver, is that Fournier, even though he's been struggling shooting the basketball, has not been Evan. You still got to go with him. He's your best shot creator. Yes, the shot wasn't falling, but he's the guy that can create shots not for himself, but for others. And as DJ Augustine, has moments in the series, a very, very high up game one, and has been pretty even killed the last two games. Fournier is a guy that can create his own shot off the dribble. I mean, Terrence Ross has become now more of I catch the ball and I come off a screen, I'm shooting it, or if I'm getting it and just shooting in transition. Aaron Gordon has become a little bit more of a playmaker, but his off the dribble ability is still a work in progress. He's getting better at it. And to be honest with you, Vucevic finally showed up after the first 2 games being neutralized by Marc Gasol. If we're going to criticize what Steve Clifford did for keeping with a guy that's been your second and third leading scorer all season, a guy that's hit big shot after big shot, and remember, Fournier is in the top 15 in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. So you got to go with the guy that's gotten you here. I know he struggled. I know it was a frustrating night. And trust me, it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to watch, even watching the game a second time. It's hard not to say Isaac should have been in the game. I think he should have. Based on the way he played, Isaac played a great game on Friday night. And I get why he should have been in the game, because he was doing such a great job defensively on Siakam. But like I said, you just don't go against a guy that's gotten you there all year. And Fournier has been a guy that's hit big shots, and he's also much maligned from the Magic fans down here in Orlando. So I understand why they did it. I'm not a big fan of it, but I don't think you go Clifford under the bus for going with the guy who got you here. The Magic did fall 98-93. They're going to play game 4 tomorrow in Orlando. I'll be at the game tomorrow. There'll be plenty of stuff all across around the association's different social media sites. The website will have the definite post-game interviews with Coach Clifford and the players, Nick Nurse, and also the guys on the podium of both teams. Follow the Instagram pages to see videos from the players as they're warming up. Quick little tidbits for myself throughout the game. And of course, we'll be posting photos all through game 4 of the playoffs in Orlando on Sunday night. Also on Friday night, the Boston Celtics have put themselves within 1 game away of eliminating the Indiana Pacers by beating them last night 104-96 in Indianapolis. In a game where another Celtics guy stepped up other than Kyrie Irving. Irving's had a great series, but Jaylen Brown says the 4 missed free throws, just basically played almost a phenomenal, flawless game. Finished game 23 points, 7 rebounds, 8 of 9 shooting from the floor. And he went 4 or 5 from downtown. Listen, the Pacers is a bad matchup. You got to give Indiana a lot of credit, but the problem with Indiana right now, the way this roster is constructed and the way the team is constructed, is the fact of when you have a guy like Victor Oladipo, the team is based around Oladipo, and truth be told, he's out. The Pacers run a different type of offense without Oladipo. Guys like Bogdan Bogdanovic is a team's leading scorer, but he's a shooter. And instead of him being able to clear off the dribble, they have to create plays for him to get shots off. And if that's the case, then it becomes a serious problem when it comes to creating baskets. There's stagger cuts, there's coming off screens, there's double screens, there's X, Y, and Z. But with Oladipo on the floor, it makes things easier to play one-on-one. The biggest success the Pacers had last night was letting Tyreke Evans play one-on-one. But, Evans is not a guy that can give you 35 minutes a night anymore because of all the injuries. That's kind of taken him down for the stretch of time. So as we go to game 4, which is set for Sunday also in Indianapolis, what Nate McMillan has to do on Sunday is really, besides the season being on the line, is the fact of he's going to have to find ways to get guys like Tyreke Evans off and going, especially saving him for late game situations, especially if it's tight. You're going to have Miles Turner come up huge in this game. They're going to need Thaddeus Young because, to be honest with you, the Celtics are just wearing down the Pacers. The Pacers don't have much to match the Pacers, Indiana, Boston going back and forth. Bogdanovic played 40 minutes last night on Friday night. And to be honest with you, I don't want to say a team is done, but they're down 3-0. They'll be lucky to get back to Boston. This series might just end tomorrow. Last game of the night on Friday night was Portland Trailblazers Oklahoma City Thunder game, and that game was a very, very good game watching Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook go back and forth, knocking down shot after shot, and seeing the emotional Westbrook after playing terrible in game 2. stepping up in game 3, hitting shots, getting his teammates involved, and just being Russell Westbrook. 33 points, 11 assists in the game, knocked out some huge shots. The game had a little controversial ending. Let's say it's controversial, but something that didn't like was the Paul George dunk at the end of the game. George, who had been struggling, he's been had a rough playoff series because of the shoulder. He shot, last night? It was a 3 for 16 night from the floor. He got to line on a regular basis, but one of those field goals was a dunk at the end of the game with the Blazers down by 10, and let's just say this, the Blazers were not too happy with the way it ended up. I'm just going to say that was some kind of another way of saying it's bulletin board material. But if you look at the difference between games 1 and 2 and game 3 last night, the real difference in the game, besides the way Westbrook played, you look at the numbers across the board and the way that the Thunder had controlled the game. They did it by number one, getting guys involved. 27-18 was the difference in assists to turnovers. Assists for both teams. The Thunder had 27 of those. But really, the key of this game was Oklahoma City shooting from downtown. They hit 51% from the three-point line last night or Friday night. And what the difference was Jeremy Grant with 4 for 5, Westbrook with 4 for 6, Terrence Ferguson with 3 for 7, Dennis Schroeder with 2 for 3, and their best three-point shooter, Paul George, went 2 for 7. So long story short, they hit 15 and 29 from the three-point line. Portland, shot 12 of 31, but when the accuracy is not there, it does lead to different transition. And the other stat was Portland took 24 free throws as a team. Paul George took 17 by himself. Big difference in the story. Now, this recording is going up on Saturday night, so not all the Saturday games are done. 3 of the 4 games are completed as of now, and the last game, which is Houston and the Jazz, are playing as this podcast is recorded, so I won't be able to go into any type of depth with those 2 games. But in the games that happened on Saturday, you had the Sixers 112-108 over the Brooklyn Nets in a game where not only Joel Embiid came back, was just really dominant, 31 points, 16 rebounds, 6 blocks, 7 assists. But on top of all of that, we had the I'm not going to say fight, but let's just say it was just a very, very interesting few moments in the third quarter where Jared Dudley, Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, and both teams' benches clearing. It seemed like it just put a fire in Embiid that he just started blocking shots everywhere. He was getting to the glass. He was controlling the game defensively, which let the Sixers be able to take over the game offensively. Brooklyn had 2 chances in this series to go up 3-1. Game 3, they didn't have Joel Embiid, couldn't take advantage at home. Today, which is Saturday, they had the Sixers. They were ahead of the Sixers throughout the fourth quarter. Could not close out the Sixers. In most cases, that Brooklyn has a chance with the series. Now they're going back to Philadelphia. I think they play game 5. I think it's Monday. It was Tuesday night in Philadelphia. This series is, I want to say this series is probably over now. I had Brooklyn win the series potentially in 6 or 7 if they had a chance to. Brooklyn had the best chance of knocking off any higher seeded team because of the fact that they caused so many nightmares, so many problems. But the difference between a team that can make the playoffs and a team that is still learning how to win is what the Nets have been doing in this series. Inexperience will kill you in the playoffs. And in this situation, like tonight, they lost Jared Dudley, a guy who has played a share of playoff games. But when Dudley's not in the game, the only guy really, Ed Davis has has a decent number of experience, is DeMar Carroll that plays any type of solid minutes. You have Russell, Karis LeVert, you have Joe Harris. Joe Harris was on the bench with the Cavs but didn't play much. But it's 3-1 series lead, Sixers are up. But really you have to give credit to the Sixers for hanging in there after Jimmy Butler was ejected. Not sure if Butler will get suspended for game 5. Even if he's suspended for game 5, as long as Embiid's healthy, the Sixers have a chance because when you have 4 guys on a nightly basis that are considered potential all-stars or have been all-stars, it makes things easier. Brooklyn is now down, and they're down to their last, little bit. I don't think Brooklyn gets out of the first round now. I think they might even get past game 5. In Denver, San Antonio, that series is now even at 2 games apiece. Denver went in one night after struggling to defeat the Spurs on Thursday night. They went in on Saturday and Denver took care of business. Nikola Jokic, again, another close to triple-double, 29 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists in the game for him, and he was just aggressive. That's the one thing about Nikola Jokic that separates him from being at that higher level, because he doesn't show this offensive aggressiveness on a nightly basis. If he does this on a nightly, it's hard to stop because he's such a good passer. He can step out. He's so smart with the basketball. Doesn't have to be super athletic. He's just extremely intelligent with the basketball. I mean, he's like Al Horford is of the Boston Celtics. He has that type of intelligence. He makes the plays. He gets people involved. Hey, listen, the Nuggets were the second best team in the Western Conference for a reason, and that's what happened. And that's what happened today. The Spurs are talented, but the problem with the Spurs is the point guard play is not consistent, and Jakob Poeltl against Jokic is a terrible matchup. I mentioned Will Barton earlier about how Mike Malone stuck with Will Barton. Today started Torrey Craig, and Craig 18 points, 8 rebounds. But the one thing about Will Barton that we saw today, Will Barton played like himself tonight. Will Barton had 12 points in 15 minutes. That's something you want to watch going forward. Will Barton is a super sub, a guy that is a flame when he's ready. There's a reason why people call him Will the Thrill. When he gets in the game and he gets hot, he can put up buckets. He had 12 points off the bench. Jamal Murray had 24 and 6 for the Spurs, for the Nuggets. Spurs led by Marcus Aldridge at 24 and 9. DeMar DeRozan 19, 5 and 5. Derek White, after having a tremendous game, 8 points on only 3 of 8 shooting. So really what this game was all about was the Nuggets getting the ball to Jokic and Jokic just dominating everywhere across the floor. They played game 5 Tuesday night in Denver. Now we have a series now. Now it's just literally best 2 out of 3 with, like I said, in Tuesday night in Denver. I love the Nuggets. If the Nuggets can just get it, if they can take game 5 at home, I think they can take game 6 and close it out. If the Spurs win, man, it's going to be hard to be popped 2 games in a row, especially in a knockout situation. Speaking of knockout situation, the Detroit Pistons have been pretty much eliminated from the playoffs. The good news for Pistons fans, they got Blake Griffin back. The bad news is it's now a 3-0 series lead. Bucks took care of the Pistons 119-103 on Saturday's main game or main card on ABC, which was a yawn fest. Chris Middleton had 20 points and 9 rebounds. This series will end on Monday night in Detroit. We're not coming back. It's not coming back to Milwaukee any stretch of the imagination unless Giannis gets hurt. This series it was a mismatch in the first place. I mean, the Pistons kept in it early. They had the lead in the first quarter, but the Bucks were up as many as 4 in the game. And for the first time all series, Giannis didn't have to have a super huge game scoring the basketball to take care of business. The Bucks had 7 guys in double figures. It seemed like everybody who actually played a decent number of minutes got in double figures. Middleton had 20. They had 19 points from Bledsoe and Brook Lopez, who actually grabbed 7 rebounds and knocked down 3 3-pointers of the game. Ilyasova had 15 off the bench. Mirotic had 12 off the bench. George Hill 11, 5 and 5 off the bench for the Bucks. Bucks are up 3-0. Pistons got 27, 7 and 6 from Blake Griffin on basically one leg. I'm not sure if he even plays in game 4. Outside of that, the rest of the Pistons pretty much just do what the Pistons always do. Luke Kennard was in the starting lineup. He scored 9 points, but like I said, Andre Drummond had 12 and 12. Reggie Jackson 15, 6 and 8. Just didn't really get his game started. So long story short, if you look at the playoffs, like I said, we have one more game going on right now. The playoffs in the scenario of everything is looking right now is that if you look at the 8 matchups that are in the playoffs now, we all know the Bucks are going to sweep the Pistons. That's a given. The Celtics could end the series tomorrow against the Pacers, which means we got 2 sweeps in the East. Now, I expect Golden State to take care of business tomorrow to go up 3-1. That series should end real easily. I don't know. I think when they lost the lead in Oakland, it kind of woke up the Warriors. Losing DeMarcus Cousins woke them up as they're going to start preparing to basically disassemble the Clippers. The Clippers are a good team. It's just that they're so reliant on the bench because they don't get much scoring from the starters other than Danilo Gallinari. And that's a problem. Their bench with Harrell and Lou Williams is phenomenal, but without scoring and being able to stop people, and Patrick Beverley is trying to irritate people all game, but doesn't do much scoring wise. You have SGA, who's a rookie point guard, Landry Shaman, who's playing to me out of position, but he's been solid. But there's not really much to sit here and say, okay, there's enough of the Clippers quality guys to beat the Warriors. That's the next series. The Warriors should take care of that one. As far as any of the 2-1 series, where they said Rockets up 2-0, they're playing now. But if you look at the rest of the twos and the threes, the rest of the seeds, especially in the West, so we look at Houston potentially could be a sweep. You're looking at Golden State. I think it's not much of being a challenge. The Denver and San Antonio series could be a 7-game series as we speak. You have, two teams. It's the best 2 out of 3 now. Denver got his stride. Can they do it back-to-back games? Can Jokic do it back-to-back games, especially being at home in Denver for Game 5? Last series in the Western Conference that we go over is Portland and Oklahoma City. All Oklahoma City has to do on Sunday is get the series even, and then it's best, like I said, best 2 out of 3, whoever can win. The team that has the team that's home court, as long as they can force Game 7, they'll play Game 7 at home. The team that's in the case of the Thunder, they're gonna have to win a game on the road in Game 5. They have to get to Game 5, be even in the series, and then have to win Game 5 inside Portland, which is a hard place to play. That way they can close the series out at home. But if it comes to the point where the Blazers can close you out in Game 7 at home, it's going to be a problem. Eastern Conference, like I said, Milwaukee's going to be up for a sweep. Boston's up for a sweep. Orlando and Toronto will play for Sunday night. Like I said, Orlando's season's on the line. They have to win this game. You do not want to go back to Jurassic Park next week, which will be Tuesday. You do not want to go to Jurassic Park on Tuesday trying to extend the series and having to beat the Toronto Raptors 3 consecutive games in a row. You just don't want that to happen. And then at the very end, the Brooklyn Nets and the Sixers is 3-1. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I'm just going to say that the Sixers are going to probably eliminate the Brooklyn Nets on Monday night. So this is the weekend edition of the Rally Association podcast. Like I said before, we will be everywhere that you're going to find us on Sunday as we get ready for Game 4 in Orlando. Raptors and the Orlando Magic. We'll have player interviews, coaches interviews. We'll be on the floor watching players get themselves ready because, like I said, this might be the biggest game of the Magic season on Sunday night. For myself, Danny Thompson, which is Danny DANNY number 3 Thompson on Twitter, and follow the Rally Association page, which is the Rally Association Radio on Facebook, and subscribe to the website, which is rallyassociation.com. Also, the podcast is available in great places like Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, and every other podcasting format you can think of. It's the best gift to yourself because it's basically $0. So, I'm going to check you guys out tomorrow. My man Cam James and our good friends at Trackaholics take you out. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.
If you ain't on your game, then we got something to teach you. Tie your laces up, might get shook up out of them sneakers. That triple threat, bless your eardrum straight out of your speakers. Go from that black top to the hardwood, locker room to that press day. Got the scoop on them contracts, new prospects and best plays. NBA defined by the grind, in between the lines, full court pressing, finessing, reading signs. What we talking about? 94 feet, crossover bodies dropping J's up. Players, this elite, your shots on body block at halftime. We break it down, we gon' call your bluffs.